The reality is now those employees are no longer there. The baby boomers have retired. And therefore, to find people at a lower cost is much, much more challenging.
Warning: Damian Andrews' growing revenue and profit, if implemented, will put more money in your pocket. Please use with caution.
Damian Andrews here, growing revenue and profit. And one of the biggest ways that you can grow your revenue and profit is have engaged employees. And well, this is what you want. This has become a real challenge in today's environment because finding great employees is more difficult. The demographics of the world has shifted. We always knew it was coming, but like most things, people know things are happening and they just ignore it. But we've known for what, 30 years that the baby boomers will be retiring, and then from that perspective the demographics had changed. What the baby boomers did when we had the baby boomers in the workforce was it created an abundance of labor, and so if someone didn't perform well, you could get someone else. And it also created pressure because people needed to perform well to do well, which also flows through to when we look at the issues that we're having now. Well, I don't know that they're issues, or just we're going back to the norm of inflation. The reality is there was a lot of employees. So you, as a business, you had more power in the ability to find employees at a cheaper rate, at a cheaper cost to you, because there were people that you could choose from. It's a supply and demand. That's how the economy works. The more supply there is, the cheaper the price is. The reality is now those employees are no longer there. The baby boomers have retired. And therefore, to find people at a lower cost is much, much more challenging. So that whole inflation thing that we're dealing with, it's not going away. It'll be here for a long time, because people have the ability. There is a lack of employees. So how do we create this engagement? Well, certainly, I mean, if you're competing on price, always a challenge, because someone's always going to be able to outprice you, whether it's cheaper or more expensive. In the case of employees, there's always someone that's going to have an ability to hire people, the quality people, at a greater pay rate, there's a whole raft of reasons why you want to have an exceptionally operating business so you can pay people more. It is an attraction. Don't be deluded into thinking that if I create this wonderful environment, people will come and work for less. Yes, there are many people that will work for a little bit less money because they've got this wonderful environment. There's a lot of people that won't, especially high achievers won't. They will want to be paid well. And we'll deal with that in a separate video. But from today's video, what we want to do is find those people that are really going to love being with your business. Now, how do you do that? The thing is, you want to connect your business and what your business does and the impact that it makes. This is really important. You want to understand the impact that it makes. Yes, you make gizmos and widgets, or you provide a particular service, but what impact does that have? How is it serving society? How is it making the world a better place? What problem is it solving? And not just the immediate problem, but the wider problem. This is where it's really critical to understand what is the wider problem that your business is solving. How is it impacting not just the person that buys your product or service, but their family, their friends? What is the flow-on effect? Now, this is something that's really great when you work through that. And I love working through this because it's a lot of fun to just see the eyes open up and go, oh, I didn't realize that it was what I was doing here was actually impacting people beyond that. And so this is where, and so that when you understand that, this is the critical part, is you want to find people that have a connection with that same impact. So when you look at it, for example, let's say you're working with healthcare, which is a big industry at the moment, and will be. Obviously, baby boomers are retiring, good industry to be in. But what you want to do is understand, what does that mean? What does that mean not just to the older person, but what does that mean to their family as well? And when you see that impact go, okay, by doing this, we had that experience where it was the opposite, unfortunately, where they weren't taking very good care of an elderly. This is it's an experience that I had working with a particular business. They weren't taking very good care of the elderly people. Well, no, I shouldn't say not. They weren't providing that little bit extra that made it okay, and providing a way of connecting the family, connecting with the elderly people. And that was the complaints they were experiencing, was that the families couldn't connect with the older people. And this really highlighted during COVID lockdowns, um, was that with the COVID lockdowns, it became difficult to interact with their grandparents, which was really traumatic. Well, parents and grandparents, which is really, really difficult. And some of those people did pass away, and they didn't have that connection. They didn't have that ongoing connection, which was it's just difficult to describe how bad that feeling must have been for those families when I was looking at this business going, oh my God, how is that possible? And that's where, when you look at the ongoing impact and go, well, how do we create that? How do we create that connection? So it's like, well, okay, we're not just looking after the old people here. What we're doing, elderly, whatever your term, PC term is, we're not just looking after those people, but we're actually looking after the broader family. And then you can implement strategies that enable you to do that. But what you do then, and this is coming back to the employee component of what we're talking about, so there's a whole raft of things. There's so many little things you can do to make your business perform really, really well. It's not hard. It is actually quite simple. As Confucius said, life is really simple. We just insist on complicating it. So focus on the simple things. And this is one of those simple things when finding those employees that connect with what you're doing, is if you understand the impact that you're making, not just to the client, but the broader world, you can put that in as part of your recruitment policy, your procedure for how you qualify people as being suitable for this organization. And someone that has a similar mission. So we know, I mean, if you have a look at your friends that you associate with, they're all pretty similar, because like attracts like. We attract the same kind of people. We like hanging around the people that have similar sort of things to us, or like similar sort of things to us. And it's the same when hiring somebody. So if you are clear about this core fundamentals of how you're making an impact in the world, and you put that in your recruitment policy, and this is part of the recruitment policy, you talk about that, you actually talk about it. You go, this is the impact that we're making. So you need to train your HR people to do this, or whoever is doing your hiring, if it's you doing it yourself. But you need to go through this process of understanding clearly what is the impact you're wanting to make to the broader world. And then you talk about that, and you ask relevant questions about their background, what they like to do. Gauge that information, have those questions to ask when you talk about it, because then from there, you can then find people that align with your impact. And when they do that, they're much, much more passionate about being there. Yes, you'll still have to pay them, and good people you have to pay more, even if the impact is there. They're not, generally not going to work for less. If they're go-getters, if they're go-getters, they're going to be able to sell you anyway. That's another story. But what you want to be doing is, in your employment process, your employment hiring process, is A, understand the impact you're making, and B, have a set of questions that you ask and talk to people about how you create impact. And then you find out from their perspective of, do they align with that? Because if they align with that impact that you're making, chances are they're going to be more motivated to do the things they do. They're going to be more passionate about it because they like it. They inherently like it for who they are. And that's one of the things you want to be doing with creating this connection with employees, especially today. It's so much more difficult than it was before. I'm not saying it's hard, because I don't think it is. If you've got the right processes in place, you can actually engage the right people quite simply and easily, as it referred to Confucius before. Don't insist on making it hard for yourself. Know where you're going, know the impact you're making. As part of your recruitment process, ask the questions that help you identify, is this person on the same mission as you? Because if they are, they're going to be much, much more passionate, and you'll be able to grow your revenue and profit much more simply and easily. This is Damien Andrews, growing revenue and profit, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next video.